Welcome back to Coin Reveal USA, the channel where we uncover the history, value, and hidden surprises behind American coins. Today, we are taking a close look at a classic United States coin that many collectors still enjoy finding in old collections, jars, boxes, and inherited coin hoards, the 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark. If you have a 1956 Wheat Penny sitting somewhere in your collection, you may be wondering exactly what it is worth today. Is this old penny actually rare? Does the missing mint mark make it special? And can a coin that is more than 70 years old really be worth serious money? In this video, we are going to examine the history, design, condition, rarity, errors, and current market value of the 1956 no mint mark Wheat Penny. So stay with me until the end, because the condition of your coin can make a surprisingly big difference. The coin we are discussing today is the 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny, also known as the wheat cent. The important detail is that this particular example has no mint mark. That means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. In the 1950s, Philadelphia did not place a mint mark on its regular Lincoln cents, so the absence of a letter below the date is completely normal. This is important because some people see a penny without a mint mark and immediately think they have discovered a rare minting error. But on a 1956 Wheat Penny, no mint mark is not an error. It is the normal identifying feature of a Philadelphia issue. The 1956 Philadelphia Wheat Penny had a very large production run. Approximately 420,745,000 examples were struck at Philadelphia, making this a common date among Lincoln wheat cents. Because such a large number were produced, an ordinary circulated example generally does not command a huge premium simply because it is old. Current market guides place typical circulated examples in the range of roughly 15 to 20 cents in good condition, with prices increasing as the coin becomes sharper and better preserved. Other market sources place average circulated examples around 15 cents, while high-grade examples can bring much more. These values are estimates, however, and the actual selling price can vary depending on grade, color, eye appeal, originality, and buyer demand. Now, let's talk about the condition of the coin featured in today's video. You described this 1956 no mint mark Wheat Penny as being in good condition. In coin collecting, the word good has a specific meaning. A coin graded good has experienced substantial circulation, meaning that many of the original details have been worn down through years of use. On the obverse, the portrait of Abraham Lincoln may still be clearly recognizable, but the finer details in Lincoln's hair, cheek, jaw, and coat can be heavily worn. The date should remain readable, because the date is one of the most important features collectors use to identify the coin. When we turn the coin over, the reverse features the famous two wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the motto Pluribus Unum. The wheat stalks are what gave this coin its popular nickname, the Wheat Penny. In a circulated good condition example, the wheat ears and lettering may show considerable wear, but the overall design should still be recognizable. The amount of remaining detail is one of the major factors that separates a good example from coins in fine, extremely fine, about uncirculated, and mint state grades. The 1956 Wheat Penny is made primarily of copper. Like other Lincoln cents of this era, it has a composition of approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. The coin has a standard 1 cent face value, but collectors value it for its history and condition rather than simply its spending value. The wheat cent series was produced from 1909 through 1958, and the 1956 issue is part of the final few years of this historic design. The wheat reverse would disappear after 1958, when the Lincoln Memorial design was introduced in 1959. That history makes the 1956 penny especially interesting. When this coin was struck, the United States was living through the post-World War II era, and American society was changing rapidly. Eisenhower was president, television was becoming increasingly popular, automobiles were transforming American cities, and the country was entering a period of major economic and technological development. A tiny 1-cent coin from that era could have passed through countless hands, stores, cash registers, pockets, and piggy banks before eventually ending up in a collection decades later. So, how much is a 1956 no mint mark wheat penny worth today? If your coin is a normal circulated example in good condition, a realistic range is generally around 15 to 20 cents. Although individual examples can sell for somewhat less or more, depending on the marketplace and the buyer, some dealers and collectors may value common circulated wheat cents in bulk at even lower prices, while particularly attractive examples may bring a better premium. The key point is that a normal, good condition 1956 Philadelphia wheat penny is not normally a high-dollar coin. Current value references show low circulated values around this level, while substantially higher prices are associated with much better grades or unusual varieties. But here is where things become much more interesting. The word condition is extremely important when determining the value of a wheat penny. Two coins can have exactly the same year and mint mark, but one might be worth only a few cents, while another can be worth several dollars, dozens of dollars, or potentially much more if it is an exceptionally high-grade example. This happens because collectors pay premiums for coins that have survived with very little wear, strong strikes, attractive, original color, and minimal marks. For example, a normal circulated 1956 no mint mark wheat penny might be worth only a small amount above face value. A coin in fine or extremely fine condition could bring more. An about uncirculated coin can bring in additional premium. Once we reach mint state, the situation changes dramatically because the coin has not been worn through circulation. Collectors then pay close attention to the coin's grade, surface quality, strike, luster, and color. Color is especially important for copper coins. Collectors commonly describe Lincoln cents as brown, red-brown, or red. A brown coin has lost most of its original bright copper appearance through natural aging and exposure. A red-brown coin retains some original red color, while a red coin retains a large amount of its original mint color. For high-grade Lincoln cents, original red coloration can dramatically increase collector demand. This is one reason you should never assume that every 1956 penny has approximately the same value. Some market references show that ordinary uncirculated 1956 cents can still be relatively affordable in lower mint state grades, but exceptional high-grade red examples can become extremely valuable. One current reference notes that a 1956 no mint mark wheat penny with an exceptionally high PCG's grade reached a remarkable auction result of $57,600. In 2022, that does not mean an ordinary 1956 penny is worth thousands of dollars. It means that exceptional condition, certification, and rarity within the highest grades can create a completely different market. This is an important lesson for every coin hunter watching Coin Reveal USA. When you hear about a wheat penny selling for thousands of dollars, do not assume that every coin from the same year is valuable. High auction prices often belong to extremely rare varieties, major mint errors, or coins in extraordinary grades that are difficult to find. The average circulated coin can remain inexpensive even when a nearly perfect example of the same date sells for a huge amount. Another thing you should check on your 1956 wheat penny is the possibility of an error or unusual variety. While the normal 1956 Philadelphia cent is common, unusual minting characteristics can sometimes attract collectors. Look carefully at the date, lettering, portrait, rim, and reverse design. Use good lighting and, if possible, a magnifying glass or coin microscope. You should be looking for unusual doubling, cracks, die characteristics, unusual lettering, or other features that appear to have been created during the minting process, rather than damage that happened later. And remember, damage is not the same thing as an error. A coin that has been scratched, hit, bent, chemically cleaned, or damaged after leaving the mint generally does not become valuable simply because the damage looks unusual. In fact, cleaning or harsh damage can reduce collector appeal. If your 1956 penny has natural circulation, wear, and original surfaces, that is generally better than a coin that has been aggressively polished to make it look shiny. One common mistake beginners make is cleaning an old wheat penny. If you discover a 1956 penny, resist the temptation to polish it. A shiny coin is not automatically a valuable coin. Collectors generally prefer original surfaces, and cleaning can leave scratches or unnatural surfaces that reduce the coin's desirability. If the coin is dirty, the safest approach is usually to leave it alone rather than experimenting with household chemicals or abrasive materials. Another important point is that the lack of a mint mark does not make this 1956 penny rare. The Philadelphia Mint normally produced cents without a mint mark, and the 1956 issue had a mintage of more than 420 million. So if your coin has no mint mark, that is exactly what we would expect from a Philadelphia 1956 wheat cent. The 1956D, produced at Denver, is identified by a small d beneath the date and had an even larger production total of more than 1 billion coins. Next up, the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark. This particular coin is in bad, heavily circulated condition. So the big question is simple. How much could this old penny actually be worth today? Is the missing mint mark a rare error, or is it completely normal? And even though this coin looks worn and damaged, could there still be something interesting hiding on it? Stay with me as we examine the 1941 no mint mark wheat penny, its history, mintage, condition, collector value, and the important details you should check before deciding what your coin is worth. The coin we are discussing today is the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny, also known as the Lincoln Wheat Cent. It has no mint mark beneath the date, which tells us that this coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Philadelphia did not place a mint mark on its regular Lincoln cents during this period, so the absence of a letter is completely normal. This is one of the most important things for new collectors to understand. A 1941 wheat penny without a mint mark is not automatically an error or a rare coin. In fact, Philadelphia produced an enormous number of these cents. Current references list approximately 887 million 1941 Lincoln cents struck at Philadelphia, making the no mint mark version a very common issue. Now, let's talk about the condition of the coin featured in today's video. This particular 1941 wheat penny is in bad condition, meaning it has experienced substantial circulation and possibly additional surface damage over the decades. The details on Lincoln's portrait may be heavily worn, the hair and facial features may be difficult to see, and the original sharpness of the design has largely disappeared. On the reverse, the two wheat stalks may also be heavily flattened, with the fine lines and smaller details becoming difficult to distinguish. When a coin becomes heavily worn, collectors generally place it toward the lower end of the grading scale. A heavily circulated coin may fall into the good range or even below that, depending on exactly how much detail remains and whether there is additional damage. A good grade wheat penny still has a recognizable Lincoln portrait, readable date, and recognizable major lettering, but much of the finer design has been worn away. Coinage study describes good condition wheat cents as coins where heavy wear has removed most design elements and left wide areas of flatness. So, how much is this 1941 no mint mark wheat penny worth today? The answer may surprise you, because although the coin is more than 80 years old, its common date and poor condition keep its value relatively low. Current market references place a 1941 Philadelphia wheat penny in the low cent range in circulated condition, with USA Coin Book listing approximately 18 cents for a good condition example, and about 22 cents as an average condition estimate. Other market references show circulated 1941 examples ranging from only a few cents to around 25 cents, depending on condition and marketplace. Because the coin you are looking at is described as being in bad condition, I would not value it as though it were a nice fine, extremely fine, or mint state example. A heavily worn or damaged example could realistically sell for only a few cents above face value, perhaps around 5 to 15 cents, depending on the buyer, the exact condition, and whether the coin has any additional collectible feature. If the coin is simply heavily circulated, but still has a clear date and recognizable design, it can still be worth keeping for a wheat penny collection. If it has severe corrosion, scratches, holes, bends, or other major damage, the value can be even lower. This is a perfect example of why age alone does not determine coin value. You might look at a penny from 1941 and think, this coin is more than 80 years old, so it must be worth a lot of money. But coin collecting does not work that way. A coin's value depends on several factors, including rarity, mintage, condition, demand, mint mark, varieties, errors, and sometimes the color and quality of the surfaces. The 1941 Philadelphia wheat penny had a huge mintage of approximately 887 million coins. That means a large number survived, which makes this date relatively easy for collectors to find. The high mintage is one of the biggest reasons an ordinary worn 1941 no mint mark penny is inexpensive. However, there is still a fascinating story behind this little coin. In 1941, the United States was on the edge of one of the most important periods in American history. The country would enter World War II later that year, and the following years would bring enormous changes to American manufacturing, industry, and everyday life. A 1941 wheat penny could have been used in stores, restaurants, gas stations, vending machines, or carried in someone's pocket during this historic period. The obverse of the coin features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln faces to the right, with Liberty along the left side, and the date 1941 on the right. If there is no letter below the date, that indicates Philadelphia production. The reverse features the iconic wheat ears, which are responsible for the name wheat penny. The words 1 cent appear in the center, with United States of America around the design and E pluribus unum above it, even when a coin is badly worn. These major design elements can help confirm that you have the correct coin. If you are examining your own 1941 penny, start by making sure the date is actually 1941. Older coins can have worn numbers that are difficult to read, and sometimes a damaged digit can be mistaken for another number. Once the date is confirmed, check directly underneath it for a mint mark. If there is no letter, you have the Philadelphia issue. It is also important to understand that the no mint mark feature is not the same as a missing mint mark error. On a 1941 Philadelphia cent, there was never supposed to be a mint mark. The Philadelphia Mint produced these coins without a mint letter, so you should not assume that a blank space beneath the date means something went wrong at the mint. The 1941 wheat penny was also produced at Denver and San Francisco. Those coins have a D or S mint mark beneath the date. The Philadelphia issue is by far the most common of the three because of its enormous production total. Now, let's talk about the biggest issue with the coin in today's video, its condition. A badly worn coin generally has very little collector premium unless it is a rare date, rare variety, or unusual error. In this case, the 1941 Philadelphia wheat penny is already a common date, so poor condition pushes the value toward the lower end of the market. If your 1941 penny has dark brown color, heavy scratches, corrosion, or other surface problems, don't try to make it look new by polishing it. This is extremely important. Many beginning collectors believe that an old coin will become more valuable if they clean it until it shines. Unfortunately, aggressive cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and reduce collector appeal. An old coin with natural aging is usually preferable to a coin that has been harshly polished or chemically altered. Instead, handle the coin carefully and examine it under good lighting. Look at both sides without rubbing the surfaces. A magnifying glass can help you see the date, mint mark area, lettering, and possible unusual characteristics. If you notice something that looks like doubling, a die crack, unusual lettering, or another possible minting feature, compare it with reliable references before assuming that you have a valuable error. This is especially important because there are many internet videos claiming that ordinary wheat pennies are worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Some rare Lincoln cents really have sold for enormous amounts, but those coins are usually extremely rare varieties. major mint errors, or exceptional high-grade specimens. A common 1941 no-mint mark penny in poor condition should not be confused with those famous rarities. For example, the famous 1943 bronze Lincoln cent is valuable because it was accidentally struck on a bronze planchet during the World War II transition to steel cents. That is completely different from an ordinary 1941 bronze wheat penny. A 1941 penny being made of copper is normal. The 1941 Lincoln cent was composed of approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Let's create a simple value guide for the 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny. A heavily worn or damaged example like the one featured today could realistically be worth around 5 to 15 cents, depending on its exact condition and the marketplace. A recognizable good condition example can be around 18 cents, according to one current price reference. Very good and fine examples can move into the 20-cent range or higher, while extremely fine examples can bring more. USA Coinbook currently lists approximately 74 cents for an extremely fine example, and around $1.88 for an about uncirculated example. Uncirculated examples can move into several dollars, with the value increasing as the grade and quality improve, but remember that these are market estimates, not guaranteed selling prices. Coin values change, and different dealers, collectors, auctions, and online marketplaces can produce different results. A listed asking price is also not necessarily the same as the price a coin actually sells for. One of the most interesting things about the 1941 wheat penny is the difference between an ordinary worn example and a high-grade specimen. At first glance, they are the same coin. They have the same year, the same basic design, and the same Philadelphia origin. But one has spent decades circulating through the economy, while the other may have been protected in a collection almost from the day it was struck. That difference can have a major effect on value. Next up, the 1953D wheat penny rare. Does the D mint mark make it valuable? Could a worn example still be worth more than face value? And are there any errors or varieties you should look for? In this video, we are going to examine everything you need to know about the 1953D wheat penny, including its history, mintage, condition, current market value, and the important details that could make one example worth considerably more than another. The coin we are looking at today is the 1953D Lincoln wheat penny. The D underneath the date identifies this coin as being struck at the Denver Mint. The 1953D is not considered a rare date because Denver produced approximately 701 million examples. USA Coinbook lists the official mintage at 701 million coins, while other references give a very similar total. This large production number means that ordinary circulated examples are still relatively easy for collectors to find today. The Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most recognizable coins in American history. It was introduced in 1909 and continued through 1958, making the 1953D part of the final decade of the famous wheat cent series. On the front of the coin is the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln faces toward the right, with Liberty on the left side, and the date 1953 on the right. Directly beneath the date is the small letter D. That tiny letter is important because it tells us where the coin was made. When you turn the coin over, you see the famous wheat reverse. Two wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent in the center, with United States of America surrounding the design and E pluribus unum at the top. These wheat stalks are what gave the coin its popular nickname, the wheat penny. Although the coin has a face value of only 1 cent, collectors continue to search for these coins because they represent an important period of American history. The 1953D wheat penny was made from the traditional bronze composition used for Lincoln cents of this era. It contains approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. The coin weighs about 3.11 grams and has a diameter of approximately 19 millimeters. These specifications are useful when examining an unusual coin because weight and composition can sometimes help identify counterfeit pieces or unusual planchets. Now, let's talk about the condition of the coin. Featured in today's video, you described this 195 3D wheat penny as being in good condition. In coin collecting, good is an actual grading level, commonly represented as G4. A good condition coin has experienced significant circulation. The major design elements remain visible, but much of the finer detail has been worn away. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait should still be clearly recognizable, but the details in his hair, cheek, jaw, and coat may be heavily flattened. The date should remain readable, and the D mint mark should be visible beneath the date. On the reverse, the wheat stalks and lettering will show considerable wear. The coin may have a darker brown appearance because of age and circulation, which is completely normal for an old copper cent. So, how much is a 195 3D wheat penny worth today? This is where we need to be realistic. A normal circulated 195 3D is not a rare coin. Current market references show relatively modest values for circulated examples. USA Coinbook currently lists a 195 3D Lincoln wheat penny at around 6 cents in average condition, with approximately 18 cents for very fine, 24 cents for extremely fine, and around 61 cents for about uncirculated. Its listed uncirculated values rise to around $1.24 or more, depending on grade. Another current market reference gives a broader estimated range of approximately 2 to 15 cents for good or circulated examples. Because actual selling prices depend on condition, color, eye appeal, buyer demand, and marketplace, you should treat these numbers as general estimates rather than guaranteed prices. For the good condition 195 3D wheat penny featured in this video, a realistic value is generally around 5 to 10 cents. With some examples potentially bringing slightly more depending on the exact appearance and market. It is important to understand that a price guide estimate and an actual cash offer from a dealer are not necessarily the same thing. A coin shop buying common wheat pennies in bulk may offer only a few cents per coin, while an individual collector may pay more for a particularly attractive example. This is a great example of why you should never assume that an old coin is automatically worth a fortune. The 195 3D wheat penny is more than 70 years old, but age alone does not determine rarity. More than 700 million were struck at Denver, and many examples survived. Because supply is relatively large, an ordinary circulated coin remains affordable. However, condition can make a dramatic difference. Imagine two 195 3D wheat pennies sitting side by side. One has been circulating for decades. It is scratched, worn, dark, and missing much of its original detail. The other was carefully stored and has sharp details, attractive surfaces, and strong original color. They may have been produced on the same day at the same mint, but their market values can be very different. This is why collectors pay close attention to grading. After good condition comes very good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, about uncirculated, and then the mint state grades. As a coin approaches mint state, the amount of original detail, surface preservation, luster, strike quality, and color become increasingly important. Color is especially important for copper Lincoln cents. Collectors generally classify them as brown, red-brown, or red. A circulated 195 3D penny will normally be brown or dark brown because of natural oxidation and years of handling. A red example that has preserved much of its original copper color can be significantly more desirable, particularly when combined with the high mint state grade. Current market information illustrates this difference. APMEX lists high-grade red 195 3D examples at substantially higher values than ordinary circulated coins, with listed values increasing through the mint state grades. Its data shows approximately $3 for Ms. 60 red, $5 for Ms. 63 red, $9 for Ms. 64 red, $16 for Ms. 65 red, $38 for Ms. 66 red, and a much higher figure for an exceptional Ms. 67 red example. But don't look at those numbers and assume that your good condition coin is worth several dollars. Those higher values apply to coins that are dramatically different in preservation from a circulated good example. This distinction is extremely important when watching coin value videos online. A headline might say a 1953D wheat penny is worth hundreds of dollars. But that price may refer to an exceptionally high-grade, certified specimen rather than an ordinary worn coin. There is another exciting possibility that every collector should know about: errors and varieties. While the normal 1953D wheat penny is common, some unusual examples can attract much more attention. One variety that collectors watch for is a repunched mint mark. There are also reported 1953 Lincoln cent die varieties and other mint-made errors that can carry premiums. One reference gives estimated values of several dollars to hundreds of dollars for certain 1953D repunched mint mark examples depending on condition. That means you should carefully inspect the D mint mark on your coin. Look at it under good lighting and magnification. If the mint mark appears to contain unusual shapes, doubling, or traces of another letter or position, don't immediately assume it is valuable. Many damaged coins can look strange. Scratches, dents, corrosion, or post-mint damage can create shapes that resemble errors. A genuine mint error must be carefully identified and preferably compared against reliable references or authenticated by a professional when the potential value justifies it. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is cleaning their wheat pennies. If your 1953D penny is dark, dirty, or brown, resist the temptation to polish it. Cleaning can leave scratches and unnatural surfaces and may reduce the coin's collector appeal. Original surfaces are generally preferred by serious collectors. If you want to examine the coin, hold it by the edges and use good lighting. Avoid rubbing the surface. Start with the date and mint mark. Then inspect Lincoln's portrait. Look at the lettering and rim. Turn the coin over and examine the wheat stalks. 1 cent, United States of America, and E pluribus unum. Finally, look for unusual characteristics that appear to have been created at the mint rather than after the coin entered circulation. The historical story behind this coin is also fascinating. In 1953, the United States was going through the early years of the post-war era. The Korean War was coming to an end, American manufacturing was expanding, and technology and consumer culture were rapidly developing. A 1953D wheat penny could have been used at a grocery store, gas station, restaurant, or local business during this important period. Every scratch and mark on an old circulated coin is a reminder that the coin actually traveled through the economy. Think about that the next time you hold one. This tiny copper coin could have passed through dozens or even hundreds of people's hands before eventually being placed in a jar or collection. That history is one reason wheat pennies remain so popular even when their monetary value is modest. Let's go through a simple value guide for the 1953D wheat penny. In good circulated condition, a realistic market range is around 5 to 10 cents for an ordinary example, although actual prices vary. Current references show values around 6 cents for average condition and approximately 12 cents for fine, 18 cents for very fine, 24 cents for extremely fine, and 61 cents for about. Next up, a 1957D Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark and a rough, heavily circulated appearance. This little copper coin is nearly 70 years old, and if you have one sitting in an old collection, coin jar, drawer, or inherited box, you may be wondering if it is worth more than 1 cent today. Is the 1957D wheat penny rare? Does the D mint mark make it valuable? And what happens to its value when the coin is in rough condition? In this video, we are going to examine the history, mintage, design, condition, possible errors, and realistic market value of this 1957D wheat penny. The coin we are looking at today is the 1957D Lincoln wheat penny. The small d beneath the date identifies the coin as being struck at the Denver Mint. In 1957, Denver produced a massive number of Lincoln wheat cents, with an official mintage of approximately 1,051,342,000 coins. That makes the 1957D one of the most common wheat penny issues. So an ordinary worn example is not considered rare simply because it is more than 6 decades old. The Lincoln wheat cent is one of the most recognizable coins in American history. The design was introduced in 1909 and remained in production until 1958. That means the 1957D is part of the final years of the famous Wheat Penny series. On the front of the coin, you can see the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln faces toward the right, with Liberty on the left side, and the date 1957 on the right. Directly beneath the date is the small d mint mark, identifying Denver as the place where this coin was produced. Turn the coin over and you will find the classic wheat penny reverse. 2 wheat stalks appear along the left and right sides, surrounding the words 1 cent. United States of America is positioned around the design, while E pluribus unum appears above it. These wheat stalks are the reason collectors commonly call this coin a wheat penny or wheat cent, although the face value is only 1 cent. These coins have become popular collectibles because they connect us to an important period in American history. The 1957D Lincoln wheat penny was made from the traditional bronze composition used for Lincoln cents of this period. It contains approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighs about 3.11 grams, and has a diameter of approximately 19 millimeters. These specifications are useful when examining a questionable coin, especially if you suspect that a coin may have an unusual planchet or could possibly be counterfeit. Now, let's focus on the most important feature of the particular coin we are discussing today: its rough condition. When a wheat penny has been heavily circulated, its surfaces can become scratched, darkened, worn, and damaged. The portrait of Lincoln can lose much of its original detail, while the wheat stalks on the reverse can become flat and difficult to see. If there is corrosion, deep scratching, environmental damage, or other problems, collectors may value the coin even less than a normal good condition example. This is why condition is so important in coin collecting. 2 coins can have the exact same date and mint mark, yet their values can be completely different. One 1957D penny might be badly worn and worth only a few cents, while an exceptionally preserved mint state example with attractive original color could be worth considerably more. Current market references show that a normal 1957D wheat penny is still relatively inexpensive in circulated grades. USA Coinbook currently estimates about 6 cents for an average condition example, with values increasing to around 12 cents in very fine, 14 cents in extremely fine, 18 cents in about uncirculated, and higher values for uncirculated coins. Because the coin in today's video is described as rough condition, I would keep expectations realistic. A heavily circulated or damaged 1957D wheat penny, without a major variety or error, may realistically be worth only a few cents, perhaps around 2 to 10 cents, depending on the exact condition, appearance, and marketplace. A collector who needs the date for a set might pay somewhat more, but a severely damaged example generally remains near the low end of the value range. Another market reference gives circulated 1957D wheat pennies a broader range of approximately 18 to 25 cents for coins from good through about uncirculated, showing how different pricing sources can produce different estimates. This is why actual selling prices can vary considerably. A price guide is an estimate, not a guaranteed amount, that every dealer or collector will pay. So, if you see online claims saying that every 1957D wheat penny is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, be very careful. Those claims usually involve extremely high-grade specimens or unusual circumstances. The normal rough condition coin is not worth anything close to those amounts. In fact, the difference between a rough circulated coin and an exceptional specimen can be enormous. APMEX's current guide shows 1957D red examples increasing from around $3 at Ms. 63 to $4 at Ms. 64. $15 at Ms. 65, $27 at Ms. 66, and hundreds of dollars at the very high Ms. 67 level. There are also documented auction results for exceptionally high-grade 1957D wheat pennies. One 1957D graded Ms. 67 plus red sold for $6,600 in December 2022. Other examples with the same grade sold for thousands of dollars. These results demonstrate how much rarity within a particular grade can matter. But they absolutely do not mean that a normal rough circulated 1957D penny is worth thousands. This is one of the most important lessons for anyone collecting coins. Never compare a heavily circulated coin with an extremely high-grade certified coin simply because they have the same date and mint mark. Coin grading creates enormous differences in value, especially for copper. Lincoln cents. The 1957D is particularly interesting because more than 1 billion examples were produced. According to current references, 1,051,342,000 were struck at Denver, making this an abundant issue. The large mintage means that collectors have many examples to choose from. As a result, ordinary rough coins do not usually command a large premium, but that doesn't mean you should ignore your coin. Even a common wheat penny deserves a close inspection. Start with the date, and make sure it clearly reads 1957. Then look directly underneath the date for the D mint mark. Once you have confirmed the basic identification, examine the entire coin under good lighting. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait. Check his hair, face, jaw, ear, and coat. Then inspect the lettering around the coin. On the reverse, examine the wheat stalks and the words 1 cent and United States of America. Look for unusual doubling, die cracks, die chips, or other characteristics that appear to have been created during the minting process. One interesting feature collectors sometimes encounter on 1957D cents is die-related damage or die chips. Some collectors report examples with unusual filled areas around letters or numbers. However, not every strange-looking mark is a valuable error. A scratch, dent, corrosion, spot, or damage caused after the coin left the mint does not automatically make the coin rare. This is particularly important with the rough condition coin. Damage can create shapes that look like doubling or mint errors. If your coin is heavily worn, it can be difficult to determine whether an unusual feature was created at the mint or appeared later. If you believe you have a major mint error, compare it carefully with reliable references before spending money on professional grading, and whatever you do, don't clean the coin. This is one of the biggest mistakes new collectors make. You might think that removing the dark color or polishing the surface will make your 1957D penny look newer and more valuable. In reality, cleaning can create scratches, remove the original surface, and reduce collector appeal. An old copper coin with natural aging is generally more desirable than one that has been aggressively polished. Instead, simply handle the coin by its edges and examine it under good light. If it is dirty, resist the temptation to scrub it. If the coin is genuinely valuable because of a rare variety or exceptional grade, preserving its original surface is extremely important. The history behind this little coin is also fascinating. In 1957, the United States was living through a period of rapid technological and social change. The country was deep into the post-war era, and American manufacturing, automobiles, television, and consumer products were transforming everyday life. A 1957D wheat penny could have traveled through stores, gas stations, restaurants, vending machines, and countless people's pockets during this period. Imagine finding this same coin decades ago and placing it into your pocket. It could have been spent repeatedly before eventually becoming too worn for regular circulation. Every scratch and worn detail on a circulated coin can tell part of that story. That historical connection is one of the reasons wheat pennies remain popular with collectors. Now, let's give you a simple value guide for the 1957D wheat penny. A rough, heavily circulated example without any special variety could realistically be worth around 2 to 10 cents. A recognizable good condition example can be worth somewhat more depending on the market. Fine and very fine examples can bring higher premiums, while about uncirculated and mint state coins become increasingly valuable as their preservation improves. Current reference data shows approximately 6 cents for an average 1957D example, and values rising through the uncirculated grades. If the coin is in exceptional mint state condition, especially with original red color, the value can become much higher. High-grade red examples are much more desirable to collectors because copper coins are difficult to preserve with their original bright color for many decades. But for the rough condition coin featured today, the realistic answer is much simpler. It is probably a common 1957D wheat penny with a modest collector value rather than a rare fortune. Its historical value and collectible interest may be greater than its actual cash value. That doesn't make it worthless. In fact, a wheat penny can be an excellent starting point for someone new to coin collecting. You can use it to learn about mint marks, dates, grading, coin composition, varieties, and errors. Once you understand how to identify a 1957D, you can start searching for other dates and mint marks and eventually work toward a complete wheat penny collection. The 1957D can also be useful as an example of why mintage matters. More than 1 billion were produced, so rarity is not the main reason collectors want this coin. Instead, higher values are generally connected to condition, color, exceptional grade, or unusual characteristics. If you have one of these coins, don't immediately throw it away just because it isn't worth a fortune. Put it aside, identify it correctly, and compare it with the other wheat pennies in your collection. A rough coin can still be an important part of a date and mint mark set, and remember, coin collecting is not always about finding a coin worth thousands of dollars. Sometimes the excitement comes from finding an old coin that has survived for generations. The 1957D wheat penny is part of the final years of the Lincoln Wheat Cent series, and it represents a fascinating chapter in American coinage. So, what is the final verdict on a rough 1957D wheat penny? With more than 1 billion examples produced, this is a common date. The D mint mark identifies Denver, and the absence of any special variety or major error means that a heavily worn example generally has only a small premium over its 1 cent face value. A rough example might realistically bring only a few cents, while better circulated examples can be worth more. High-grade red specimens are a completely different category and can command significantly higher prices. Before you spend or discard your coin, give it one careful inspection. Confirm the 1957 date, confirm the D mint mark, look for unusual mint-made features, and evaluate the amount of wear and damage. If the coin is rough, don't clean it. If you believe you have discovered a genuine error or an unusually high-grade example, consider getting a second opinion from an experienced numismatist. Thank you for watching Coin Reveal USA. If you enjoyed discovering the value of wheat pennies, Lincoln cents, rare coins, mint errors, and old American money, make sure to subscribe to Coin Reveal USA and turn on notifications so you never miss another coin investigation. If you have a 1957D wheat penny, take a close look at yours and let us know in the comments what condition it is in. You never know what you might discover when you start looking closely at old coins. Keep searching, keep learning, and keep checking those pennies, because the next coin reveal could be hiding right in your collection. Thanks for watching Coin Reveal USA, and I'll see you in the next video.